Good morning, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's live stream. Today is January 31st, 2025, and it is the last day of January. Usually, I would tend to, oh wait, sorry, not the charts. Usually, when it is near the end of the trading month, I do want to point you guys attention to the weekly, or yeah, I guess the weekly power of 3 and the monthly, right? So here, based on this monthly candle here, I am not anticipating for us to take out the monthly high or the monthly low, right? It's the last day of the trading month. What I can anticipate is for us to close within this blue shaded box here as the TGIF setup, right? And TGIF setup, the TGIF setup is taught to us to only be used on the weekly time frame. However, if prices is fractal, meaning every single candle has a open, high, low, close, has an objective, why can't I apply TGIF setup on the monthly time frame? So here I am going to apply that concept in this specific today. Well, because the monthly candle closes, it has a month's worth of time, right? TGIF setup could have been based on, you know, a couple days prior to this already. But yeah, like I said, today I'm not really anticipating much, to be honest. Let's see if we have any economic news drivers. So we have core PCE. I'm not entirely too sure what that does. But employment cost index. So those are two red folder news here at 8:30 Eastern time. And it seems like we didn't have much like movement from that, to be honest. Yeah, not much. So coming into this morning, I like I said, I don't know. I honestly, I would just sit on the sidelines today, just because that monthly candle's about to close and the weekly candle's about to close too. I didn't really have a daily bias as well. So based on this candle here from yesterday, what can I anticipate? Pretty much the only thing that I could have anticipated here based from that daily candle is that we rebalance again this inefficiency, which we have done already. Coming into today, we actually had a gap up today, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, coming into today, no daily bias. I like to use the lower time frames or the intraday time frames, such as the 4 hour, the 6 hour, the 8 hour, or the 10 hour as my higher time frame order flow, right, as my bias. But we don't close on the 4 hour or the 8 hour candle yet. We close on those time frames in about 25 minutes or so. So I'll give us about 25 minutes until I'll confidently say that I would like to see us take out the 8 hour high or the 8 hour low. But yeah, just wait for the 4 hour candle to close and wait for the 8 hour candle to close. Not much I am anticipating coming into today. It's been an interesting week so far, to be honest. We had a really large sell-off here coming into Monday's price action, and then we just slowly been grinding back up again. I do believe that on Monday we had I think we had this news over a AI company in China, Deep Fish or something like that, and which caused Nvidia and just basically the entire tech stocks to kind of drop. Let's take a look at Nvidia now. Have we been trying to sell back? Not necessarily. Yeah, we had. Let's see. we dropped $26 here on Nvidia, which is interesting, but 12-month time frame. I mean, we are pretty bullish here, to be honest, here on Nvidia, but let's see what I want to take a look at Tesla. But yeah, as of right now, not really trying to force anything. It's okay for me to just sit on the sidelines. I'm completely chilling with that in mind. Chilling, shabilling. But yeah, coming into today, like I said, my top priority to take a look out for is the monthly TGIF setup, and let's just do the weekly too then, huh? 63.75. It's high here. 63.25. 75. And then I'll do this one as well. Oh, right here. So yeah, that is the weekly and monthly TGIF setup. Yeah, like I said, I'm not completely sure what we want to do here. On coming into today, but yeah. Let's take a look at some of the pros and cons here. And I do want to go over this trade that I saw yesterday. It was like literally when I was going over the daily stoic quote with you guys yesterday, a model did present itself, and it was a pretty clean setup. But let me go over it right now with you guys actually. So yesterday, coming into the day, we had already actually completed the daily objective, right? Coming into yesterday. So the daily objective here, I didn't really have a clear daily objective, right? But we did end up taking out previous day high here. So we took out previous day high coming into the morning session, right? So that means the daily time frame's objective has been completed. I can't use that time frame anymore. So I want to use the intraday time frames, such as the 4-hour, like I said, the 6-hour, 8-hour, 10-hour. And for this specific trade here, actually, I didn't have a clear 4-hour objective or 8-hour objective when we opened up at 10, right? So let's take a look at this hourly candle here. So this hourly candle is at 9, and once we closed here and we opened up on the 10-hour candle, I can't really anticipate what the next 10-hour candle is going to do, because this 9-hour candle is pretty, like, you know, I can't really anticipate anything here. Same thing with this 4-hour and the 8-hour as well. So these two time frames, I'm not completely confident that I can say that we're going to take out the 4-hour high or the 4-hour low or the 8-hour low or the 8-hour high. So here I'm like, okay, I'm not completely sure about the 4-hour, 8-hour, or the hourly. So I'm just gonna sit on my hands until there's a opportunity, right? But after, like I said, after we take out previous day high, I'm like, okay, we just took out higher time frame liquidity, right? And we end up creating this dealing range. So within this dealing range, there's certain characteristics that I do want to draw your attention to, right? Which is the dealing range's equilibrium level. The equilibrium level is essentially the dealing range halfway point, and it separates discount and premium. So discount here I'm gonna draw as the green shaded box, and premium I would make it a red box. So if there are buyers here in the market right now, the buyers are going to want to buy in discount, that green shaded box, right? And if there are sellers are going to want to sell in premium, which is the red shaded box. So if I know this concept, right, and we begin to see bearish price action, so now going into the 50-minute time frame, I notice here, okay, well, I notice, give me 1 second. I'm noticing. So I'm like, okay, so we have that hourly dealing range, right? And notice how we create this 15-minute candle. It's a rather bearish 15-minute candle, right? And it is suggesting to us that we're most likely going to take out the 15-minute low. So the 15-minute low being this low right here. $15M low. So within the next 15-minute candle, I can anticipate for that next 15-minute candle to take out the 15-minute low. And why else should we be continuing lower? Like I said, if there are buyers present here, they're going to want to buy in this green shaded box. So we should continue lower, right? To retrace back into discount of the dealing range. So there's a reason for us to continue lower here. We haven't retraced back into the discount of the 1 hour dealing range yet. So it makes sense for us to want to continue lower here. So with that in mind, I have my higher time frame objective, which is to retrace back into the hourly dealing range, the discount of the hourly dealing range. I have my model, which is the 15-minute bearish candle, which is suggesting to us lower prices already, right? So that means the lower time frames, the 15-minute time frame, is in alignment with the higher time frames, which is for us to retrace back into the discount level. So if once I have those two concepts, those two components, all that's left is for me to find an entry pattern. So we actually end up kind of consolidating here. So at 10:03, we kind of just, we're within this range and we're consolidating, right? But once we open up here on this next 15-minute candle at 10:15, I mark out the opening price. This is the opening price. I'll make that a little bit bolder so you guys can see what I'm pointing at, and I'll make it pink. So the pink line here is that 10:15 opening price, right? And go back to when I said that I'm anticipating the next 15-minute candle to be a open, high, low, close candles, right? So a down close candle. In cases of you're anticipating a down close candle, you want to be a seller above the opening price, which is that pink line here. And notice where my entry pattern or my entry is. My entry is, I'll make that a little bit more clear as well. My entry is at this blue line. So notice how I am selling above the pink line, which is the 15-minute open, right? So it makes sense for me to be a seller there. And so I take my entry. My stop loss is essentially the rebalance of this inefficiency. So I'm actually anticipating for us to create a 15-minute fair value gap. So I don't want to see us completely retrace back into this candle's low. because I want to see us create a 15-minute fair value gap. So I take my entry and oh right, I forgot. But my entry pattern is this 1 minute fair value gap. So we're like prior to the 10:15 opening, we continuously keep stabbing into this 1 minute fair value gap, right? But we never once did completely disrespect this inefficiency. We're still basically trading in the lower portions of the inefficiency. So this is something that I like to see, right? With this like I guess consolidation here for a little bit. This is what I believe as I think ICT calls it time frame distortion, but how I'm interpreting this here is that prices is waiting for the correct time to complete a specific objective, right? And the right time is at 10:15, right? Because 10:15 is a creation of a new 15-minute candle, and the previous 15-minute candle to the new one is already suggesting lower prices. So we have an objective right now, right? After a certain amount of time passes, there will be new creations of a objective. So like I said before, higher time frame objective, retrace back into the discount of the hourly dealing range. My model is based on the 15-minute candle, 15-minute power of 3. My entry pattern is a 1 minute fair value gap. And let's take a look at what we do. We actually end up retracing, or not retracing, but we do end up taking out the 15-minute low. And let's see if we retrace back into the discount of the dealing range. So keep in mind that discount of the dealing range is that green box, right? So actually open up this and look at this. It's pretty dang accurate here. Take out the 15-minute low. We continued lower towards the discount of the dealing range. And then after we take out the 15-minute low, I've moved my stop loss to break even, and then I just let prices do its thing, right? But that's essentially what the trade from yesterday was. It's pretty accurate. Not want to say accurate, but it's pretty dang clean. Really clean setup. Notice how, like I said, I didn't rely on the daily time frame. I didn't rely on the 4-hour time frame because I was unsure of where prices wants to go. And there are times when that's going to happen, right? If you don't know what a specific time frame's objective is, there's no point, there's no need for you to force anything. So I didn't force anything to happen on the 4-hour time frame, the daily time frame. All I did was pivot to a lower time frame, and I understood what the objective was. Sometimes there are specific cases where, you know, some people, they might see this, oh, hey, this is a sell setup here. It's a sell model, guys. I'm gonna target this existing liquidity here, right? And I'm gonna have I'm being sarcastic here, and I'm gonna have a 5 to 5.71 RR, guys. I'm shooting for 231 points. That's completely out of the scope, out of the range of this specific trade and this specific objective, right? If we're going to be shooting for that low there, and let's see what that low was. If we're going to be shooting for this low, I would have preferred it to be like on a higher time frame. That specific model, notice how I'm taking it on the 15-minute model. That model doesn't apply to, it's not telling us that we're going to take out this low. That's completely out of the scope of the range of that trade there. But yeah, very clean setup yesterday. And I would have taken it live with you guys. I'm not trying to create an excuse or anything like that, but like I said, I was going over like the daily stoic quote, and yeah, I was preoccupied with something else that's completely out of my control. Like I said before, I'm not trying to create an excuse. to say why I didn't take that trade. But yeah, so we have about 10 minutes left until this 8-hour candle's closure and this 4-hour candle's closure. One thing I do want to point out here is that we are lacking in displacement here on the hourly time frame, right? It's, look at this. We trade up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It's really like it's not showing a lot of strength. Look at this sell-off here. This sell-off is, this is like, there's something happening right now, right? In this specific time. It's just straight down. That's strength. That's a lot of energy. But with the move up here, like on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it's been rather like, I guess, lethargic, but yeah. Interesting. Very, very interesting. One thing here, if we were to close here on this 8-hour candle right now, notice how the 8-hour closing price of this current 8-hour candle, notice how we're going to probably close above the previous 8-hour candle's high, which is that pink line, right? If we close above this pink line, I would anticipate for us to treat this 8-hour fair value gap as a breakaway gap. And I want to see us expand towards the 8-hour high, which I'm going to denote as a green line. So here, if we were to close right now on this 8-hour candle, I would anticipate for the morning objective to be the 8-hour high. If we do take out the 8-hour high, I would sit on my hands and I wouldn't want to force anything else, because my 8-hour objective would have been completed, right? I would have to pivot and go onto like a lower time frame, such as maybe even the hourly time frame, right? But that's with the assumption that we close on the hourly time frame, right, or the 8-hour time frame right now. Anything could happen within this next 5 minutes, but like I said, my assumption here is that if we close on this 8-hour candle, I would treat this 8-hour fair value gap as a breakaway gap, meaning I don't want to see prices trade lower. I want to see us trade higher towards the 8-hour high. After we take out the 8-hour high, I couldn't care less about what prices wants to do afterwards. But initially, I do want to see us take out that 8-hour high. One thing that I do want to point your attention to here is the 8-hour high here is actually the same high as this 4-hour high and this hourly high. So with that in mind, I can actually anticipate for us to complete the 8-hour objective within the next 1 hour. Why can I say that? Because of a concept called scope. Scope allows you to understand when a specific objective should be completed within a certain time frame, right? And because the 1 hour high is the same high as the 4 hours and the 8 hours, I would anticipate for us to complete the objective within, or the 8-hour objective within the next hour. But if I were to go on to the 15-minute time frame right now, and if the 15-minute high is the same high as the hourly high, then I can anticipate the same thing too. So let's see, going into the 15-minute, as I thought, the 15-minute high is the same high as the hourly high, the 4-hour high, and the 8-hour high. So what can I anticipate? Scope. I can anticipate for us to now complete the 8-hour objective within the next 15 minutes. And scope is a really strong and powerful tool if you understand how to use it and actually how to see it, right? But yeah. So notice how, remember how I refer back to how I said that the 8-hour fair value gap should be treated as a breakaway gap, because we're closing above that previous 8-hour candle's high. Well, in this case, same logic here applies to the 15-minute time frame. We're creating this 15-minute candle, right? And notice how the current closing price right now, if we were to close on this 15-minute candle, is somewhere like here, right? And notice how it's above this pink line. So what can I anticipate? For us to treat the 15-minute fair value gap as a breakaway gap. I don't want to see prices rebalance this inefficiency if we close above the previous, or more specific, the second fair value gap's candle's high. But yeah, that's kind of what I have here coming into this morning. Not much, but it is something. So very, very interesting right now. Well, yeah, like I said, monthly time frame, weekly time frame, I'm not really anticipating much. Very, very interesting day so far here. Alright. See, so notice how here we're beginning to close with below this blue line. This blue line, so let's just pay really close attention to where we close here on this 15-minute, on the current 15-minute candles closing price right now. Because like I said, it's going to tell us a lot of information. Let's see if there's anybody on the YouTube right now that wants to say anything, or that there's anybody here. Why does it keep telling me that? Okay, so let's see. Not even too sure why it's taking a long time to load. Shooter setup help. Oops. We had a viewer, but that was for 3 seconds. Okay, it's all good. So we're growing. But yeah, let's 17 seconds here. And I'm not taking this trade here because I have a higher time frame objective, right? But I don't have a model to align with it. And that's completely fine. There are times where this happens a lot, and I just have to sit on my hands. So let's see. Objective is for us to take out that 8-hour high, and I would anticipate for us to complete that 8-hour objective within the next 15 minutes. So let's see. What do we do? Dun, da, da, da. We took out the 8-hour objective. The 8-hour high has been completed, and like I said, we completed that 8-hour objective within the next. We completed the objective within a time frame of 15 minutes. So now that we have completed the 8-hour objective, we have taken out the 8-hour high. I no longer can use the 8-hour time frame, the 4-hour time frame, the hourly time frame, and even the 15-minute time frame for a higher time frame objective. Now I have to wait until until possibly there will be another opportunity. But as of right now, I'm going to go into my pros and cons and just do that, right? There's no need for me to force anything here onto the markets. We have already completed the higher time frame objective. Yeah. So going into the pros and cons here for this week, or I guess some of the pros and cons from last week per se, I was able to take consistent trades, right? Every single trade that I took last week had components that I look for: a higher time frame objective, a model, and a entry pattern. Every single one of those components were present whenever I took a trade, right? If I wasn't able to identify or explain to anybody what those components were of a trade, then I'm not going to take it. But because those requirements that I look for were present, my only job here then is for me to press the button. And it's that simple, right? If everything that I'm looking for in a trade is present, all that I can do is now, press that button and allow the charts and allow the algorithms to do its thing. And I'm completely fine if I get stopped out. If my trade plays out, that's not in my control. But what is in my control is how I practice that consistency. Second thing that I should continue doing based on last week's performance is continuing to look for SMT. SMT being, how ES is looking compared to NQ and vice versa. Here, NQ has taken out previous day high too. We're continuing to expand higher, like I would have liked to see. But yeah, there's no SMT right now. This is pretty clean. So there was a trade here last week that I did take. All of the components that I look for, like I said, were present. And as soon as we opened up on ES, we took out the model's objective, right? And on NQ, which was the indice that I took my trade on, we did not take out the 15-minute lows or the 15-minute time frames objective. So when ES had completed its objective and NQ did not complete its objective, there's some sort of SMT there. There's some sort of manipulation between the indices, right? In that specific trade, I actually moved my stops to break even. And yeah, moving my stops to break even is like insurance, is a way to prevent myself from being a part of any manipulation. And no matter how good a trade looks, right? If there's SMT between the markets and there's manipulation, no strategy is going to win. No strategy is going to be profitable. Maybe phrase it like that. But yeah, be completely acceptance with how the markets are, right? Like I said, no matter how good a trade looks, if there's manipulation in the markets, you don't want to be a part of it. And the last thing that I do want to go over that I did well from last week is time frame alignment. Time frame alignment as in like refer back to how I went over that trade recap with you guys. Oh, my DBM up. Yeah, bye. But yeah, refer back to the trade that I went over with you guys earlier this stream, right? How I was able to align the 15-minute model with the higher time frame order flow, which was for us to retrace back into that hourly dealing ranges discount level. That's time frame alignment. An example of incorrect time frame alignment is you have a weekly objective, which could possibly be weekly high, right? And you're trying to find a model, and you go from weekly time frame to the 1 minute time frame, and you use the 1 minute time frame as a model, and let's say you use the 5 second time frame as your entry pattern. There is no correlation between, or I don't think correlation is the right term, but just try to imagine you're going from chapter 1 of a book straight to chapter 50 without reading any chapters in between. That is essentially what you're doing whenever you're going from the weekly time frame to the 1 minute time frame. You're going to miss out on a lot of information, right? A lot of characters, a lot of plots. And that's just not how you want to approach reading. And in this case, that's not how you want to approach trading. Understand that every single time frame has an objective, but you have to understand, like, going from the weekly time frame and the 1 minute time frame is completely out of sync. Correct way to time frame alignment, right, is the weekly time frame, and you might want to align the weekly time frame with the daily model, and going from the daily model you can go onto maybe the 4-hour fair value gap. That's correct usage of time frame alignment, right? And that's the correct way to use time frames, different time frames. That's how you're able to pull different information from different time frames. If you go from chapter 1 straight to the last chapter, like I said, you're going to miss out on a lot of information, and it's just something that you want to avoid. And some things that I can work on here on this week is understanding that if all of the components that I am looking for in a trade is present, right? Higher time frame objective, model, entry pattern. What is best for me to do is click the button, is actually execute. Don't be afraid or don't be hesitant of what the outcome of the trade is going to be. If your strategy is present, right? All you have to do, like I said, is to press the button and allow the markets to do its thing. Have confidence in your trade strategy. There are times where, market conditions aren't probable, like the one I told you about with SMT. But there are other instances where markets aren't probable, such as FOMC, right? If you're trading right when FOMC is about to be released, that's considered like unprobable conditions. NFP, ICT states that NFP tends to be rather chaotic, rather very it's not clean. CPI, if you're in a trade a minute before CPI hits, that's not something that you want to practice, right? And I believe all of those times when you shouldn't be in a trade should be already implemented in your strategy, right? If you know when markets are going to be improbable, then why are you even trying to take a trade when those times are improbable, right? So that's the only time when I guess all of the components that you look for is present, but you shouldn't take a trade. That's the only time when. But in every other time, there should be no reason for you to hesitate to actually click the button, right? Second thing here that I can work on coming to this week, practicing mindfulness, right? And this application shouldn't be only for trading, but this should be for like life in general. If you're able to align your thoughts and your actions with your values and goals constantly, right, there's literally nothing that you can't achieve. as long as you have mindfulness and you're aware of what you're doing and what you're thinking, and like I said, whatever you're thinking of and whatever you're doing is aligned with your goals, you're literally boundless. You're limitless. And a good question is to always refer back to in the moment is what you're currently doing, currently thinking, and is it going to benefit you in any way, right? Is me doing these live streams benefiting me in any way? It is. It's reinforcing the concepts that I have created for myself, the beliefs, the values. If I'm able to explain it to someone, if I'm able to explain to you guys what my strategy is, not only is that benefiting you, but it's also benefiting me in a way where I'm constantly regurgitating what I'm learning, and it allows me to have a deeper understanding of what I'm trying to do here and what my strategy is. But yeah, so some of the improvements here coming into this week: continue to take consistent models. Every single model that I take, or every single trade that I take, should have a higher time frame objective, I should have a model, and I should have an entry pattern. If those components are present in a trade, there's no need for me to hesitate, right? And yeah, there's a quote that I don't know if anybody has came up with it yet. I thought of it whenever I was doing these slides. But failure to execute is accepting to fail. Execution, right? If you have the confidence in your strategy, then it is very, very, I don't want to say easy, but it makes it a lot more, like, I guess, easy for you to actually execute. So have confidence in your strategy. And having a trading journal, having something for you to review back to, is only going to reinforce the ideas that, hey, I know that these things are going to pan out, right? It's just simply how I it's just like it allows you in times where you might not have as much belief in yourself as you should. You can always refer back to this journal and see all of the accomplishments, see your journey, right? And it just kind of gives you that little positive nudge towards your inner self. The second thing here, pay close attention to pay close attention to SMT. No matter how good a trade looks, like I said, if there's SMT that's present, then automatically the conditions that you're in is improbable. It's not something that you want to be in, right? It's just highly manipulative. You don't want to be a part of that. Third, maintaining a level of awareness over your actions and your thoughts. Like I said, continue to align your thoughts with your values and goals. See your envision yourself 10 years in the future. Where do you see yourself as, right? What do you want to be? And once you're able to grasp a vision of what do you want to be, right? Think of the things that person in the future would be doing. Think of the things that he would be thinking of, and copy that. Copy whatever you're imagining, and apply that to your current self, right? Last thing here, aggressive trading. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for my pros and cons here with you guys. Yeah, but coming to this now, like, I guess coming to the morning session now, I don't necessarily have much of a bias anymore. Like I said, the 8-hour objective has been completed, which turns out to be the 4-hour objective, hourly objective. So now, best thing for me to do, sit on my hands, allow time to pass, and as time passes, there's going to be new creations of price structure. So once I have a clear understanding of what price wants to do and there's an opportunity for me to be a part of it, then I'll be a part of it. But as of right now, like I said, nothing for me to do here. And the last thing that I do want to go over today on the live stream is to go over the daily motivational quote here for today. So let's ask ChatGPT what. I always say what. Daily stoic quote. One second. All right, so the quote here for today is, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Okay, the way that I am personally interpreting this quote here is, growth comes from failure, right? Growth does not come from success. Or I guess major growth comes from failure. And you should be able to embrace your failures as not, you don't want to view your failures as failures, but you want to view it as a learning experience, right? There is this quote it's a quote by Albert Einstein, I believe, but I actually got it from a book called Maximum Achievement. But essentially what Albert Einstein said is that one of his students is like, hey professor, something along the lines of, how are you able to continue experimenting? You have failed 1,000 times. And Albert Einstein responded with, student, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I actually had 1,000 opportunities to learn, or something like, I'm now 1,000 steps closer towards my goals or whatever. But as long as you're able to embrace your little drawbacks, right? The little I guess learning experience as a good thing. You want to view those, I guess, failures as a learning experience, right? And you should be able to embrace it. Like I said, success doesn't come without failure. And yeah, so how ChatGPT interprets this as, growth requires humility. True improvement demands the willingness to be a beginner. You can't learn if you're always trying to appear competent. Accepting that you don't know everything is the first thing, or is the first step towards mastery. I feel like this is something that actually is something that I actually need to learn, right? There's not a personal belief, but I've been raised in environments where I'm expected to be this and I'm expected to be that, right? I don't want to come off as, I don't think this is racist to say, but in Asian culture, you cannot I guess there's a lot of expectations for an Asian child, right? That their parents, I guess, establishes. As a kid, I was expected to have A grade, A pluses. I was expected to be a certain way, like this and that, and it was very a cookie cutter approach, right? I had to do everything correct for me to be, I guess, I had to do things correctly to be accepted in as a good child, if that makes a sense. But and that's just Asian culture. It is more toxic, to be honest. Now that I'm older, now that I'm aware of what actually occurred as a whenever as I grew up. I'm not trying to shame, I guess, Asian culture. I'm not trying to say that my parents weren't bad parents. They were very loving parents. But they it's just those expectations. It kind of created. It kind of like made me believe that I had to be perfect in everything, right? That I could not fail. And in these past maybe 1, 2, 3 years, I'm slowly, and I will break out of that mindset, right? Because like I said, growth doesn't come without failure, right? And if I try to appear as perfect, or as I if I appear if I'm trying to appear as, I guess, competent in other people's views, and not learn for myself, then it's not growth at all. And yeah, except, like I said, ChatGPT says, accept that you don't know everything. Should be your first step, right? Second, ignore external judgment. Many people fear looking foolish when trying something new, but this fear holds them back, right? The fear of of trying anything because you're afraid of other people's judgments is kind of stupid, to be honest. Because, or I wouldn't say stupid is the right term here, but it's just foolish. Um, you're not doing yourself a service if you're holding back because of other if because you're afraid of another person's judgment on you, right? And I'm saying this here, but it's something that I'm also working on myself. I've gotten a lot more open of trying new things, but I mean there's still things that I'm working on, right? Like public speaking. Here I'm taking a step towards being able to communicate and being able to express in a way where express to, I guess, the world who I am and how I do things. Um, the opinions of others, right, aren't necessarily things that you can control. It's something that you actually can't control. How someone views you is something that isn't necessarily in your control. And if they're not in your control, then you shouldn't be wasting your energy towards thinking that, right? Focus on It's not selfish, but focus on your own progress, right? Don't focus on another person's opinion towards you. It's okay to fail and accept that. And um yeah, third here, ChatGPT's the path of excellence is uncomfortable. Improvement often means making mistakes, facing criticism, feeling uncomfortable, but enduring these temporary struggles leads to long-term success. Reflection question. What area of your life have you avoided improving because you fear looking inexperienced? How can you push past that fear today? Um, for me, a area that I avoided improving because you fear looking inexperienced. I don't I can't really think of one on the top of my head, but for sure there are moments in my day where I'm actually more focused on another person's, I guess, other people's views towards my actions, right? Um, like the example that I can think of for myself is that in volleyball, right? I I guess I would consider myself as a pretty decent player, right? But there are always thoughts of like in the back of my head where I have to perform a certain way to maintain a reputation as a decent player, right? And let's say I'm going up to serve. If I fail this serve, I lose all credibility. That's a negative way of thinking. Um, I guess it's like I have to approach that perspective, that view on like in a different way. I should be only focused like, hey, do the best that you can. Um, Focus like for me, I'm slowly trying to implement these ideas, right? So coming to like yesterday, am I going to, if you guys are familiar with volleyball, am I going to float serve, which is tends to be a lot easier than a jump serve, or am I going to push myself to the limit and fear and do not fear of failing a jump serve? And yesterday I was, you know, I made it, I guess, a goal of myself that hey, every single serve that I'm going to do here is going to be a jump serve, no matter what the outcome is going to be. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to implement all of the techniques, like the way I jump, the way I swing, everything like that is going to be like, you know, that's the only thing I'm going to focus on. Another like aspect of this is like asking questions in front of a classroom. You shouldn't be afraid of asking the teacher a question, right? Because of maybe like your, I guess, how your classmates is going to view you if you ask questions. I don't think you asking a question or anything like that is going to affect the world in any way, right? Keep in mind that we live in such a massive space, right? Like think of the universe, right? If if you failing something is going to cause a ripple through the universe, then you may want to reconsider what you're about to do, right? But majority of the time, 99.9% of the time, you failing something is not going to completely destroy the universe, right? I can't even think of a thing that you can do that is going to completely destroy the universe. And just have this mindset where like the universe is so vast that you failing is going to it is literally nothing. It's like you are a sand and a beach, right? And your actions and your failures literally mean nothing compared to how vast the universe is. So don't be afraid to fail. It's literally, there's no reason to be afraid to fail, right? Um, and even with like viewing, like kind of, I guess, being afraid of how others think about you, I I believe, and this is more like a fact too. Everybody has their own life, right? So, and they're not occupied, maybe momentarily, but they're not occupied on how, on if you fail or if you succeed, right? Everybody has their own, has their own life. They're doing their own things, and grasp that. That's, I guess, that's another way of, I guess, easing, and making it easier for you to accept the failure, right? Everybody has their own path. Everybody has their own life. They're not going to look at you like, hey, this guy just, they're not going to think that. They're more focused on themselves than, not in a selfish way, but yeah. And with that, I do believe that's going to wrap it up for today's live stream. Went over the Stoic quotes, right? Daily. Went over the charts. Went over some of the pros and cons with you guys. And I believe that's going to wrap it up for today's video or today's live stream. If you guys want to join my Discord, it is available in my YouTube bio. Actually, I don't even know if it's in this YouTube's bio. But if you guys do want to join, comment down on, I guess, comment in the live stream, whatever. I'll look back on it, and then I'll send you a invite code if you guys want to join the Discord. I do post weekly market outlooks on here. I do these motivational quotes, so if you need some sort of like motivation in a time, in a random time, you guys can always come to here. I also do one-on-one or group studies on, I guess, in the subject matter of trading or anything. I mean, if I'm able to help, I will help. Whatever the topic may be. But if you ask me how to cook or anything like that, I'm not the guy to approach. But yeah, consider joining the Discord. And until next time, probably next Monday. Yeah, next Monday. I will see you guys later. Peace out.